Hey, what's up, everyone? You guys ready for another edition of Free Advice Friday? Looking forward to spending some time with you today, as always, and answering all of your voiceover business and marketing questions, which is, that's the whole point, right? Right? That's what we're here for. So that's what's going to happen today. So if you've got those voiceover questions that you would like to ask and get answered, this is your opportunity to ask them and get them answered. So what do you guys want to talk about today? I've been doing some research on LinkedIn. We talked about LinkedIn a little bit last week on the show, and obviously one of my favorite social media platforms, the one that I've built some amazing relationships with some amazing clients. In fact, some of my best clients that I am working with have come as a result of the relationships that I've built on LinkedIn. So I am going to be updating my LinkedIn Masterclass for 2024. Anybody who has previously purchased the class, you're going to get access to the update. But in preparation for getting ready to do that updated version of the class, I've been doing some research and learning about some of the changes that have happened on the platform. I've been experimenting around with a few things. I've been sending a ton of connection requests in the past couple of weeks and getting a better sense of what the new rules are around search and around personal notes and what you can and can't do and can't get away with on a free profile. So I've been learning some of that stuff as well, and all of that is the type of information that is going to go into the updated version of the masterclass. So keep an eye out for that. I'm going to be teaching it twice: February 13th at 1 o'clock Eastern, and February 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be an opportunity if you are interested to, learn how to make money with LinkedIn. There you go. That's going to be your chance to learn how to make some money on LinkedIn. So keep an eye out for that masterclass. Head over to the website. If you go to VOpreneur.com, it's right there on the homepage. You can get registered for either one of those sessions. Now, again, as a reminder, if you have previously signed up for making money with LinkedIn, you are automatically going to get access to the update. So you do not need to register again. But if you have never taken the class before, this is a deep dive. This is a deep dive into LinkedIn. And I'm going to teach you, the first part of the session is going to be focused around how to set up your profile. It's going to dive into all the different sections, what LinkedIn wants to see, what they're looking for, how to optimize your profile from an SEO standpoint. So that's going to be the first part of the session. And then in the second part of the session, we're just going to really dive into the actionable, practical strategies, right? I'm going to give you tips for content. I'm going to give you tips for sending connection requests, for building relationships, for using search. I'm going to teach you some different things that I have learned, some hacks that you can use so that you can do all of this stuff on a free LinkedIn profile. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Everything that I teach in this class, I'm going to teach you how to do with a free LinkedIn profile. So anyway, that's what's going on. Making money with LinkedIn. Again, there's going to be two different opportunities for you. February 13th at 1 o'clock Eastern and February 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Head to VOpreneur.com. They're right there on the homepage. You can register for whichever one interests you. But that's my little spiel about LinkedIn. All right, so what do you guys want to talk about for Free Advice Friday? DT's here. Welcome. Walter, Carrie, welcome. Mike is here. Thank you, Mike, for watching. Claudia, TJ, Dion. So lots of different folks that are already in here. Looking forward to spending some time with you guys, as always, on a Friday afternoon. All right. Well, let's move that down here, shall we? I made some updates. You may have heard I got a new computer, updated my computer, changed out my entire workstation, got to set up some of my software again. So FiberJazz says, I've been hearing about a massive data breach across multiple social media sites. If you heard about this, guess it would be a good time to change all the passwords and be on the alert for identity theft. You know what? Changing passwords is just a good habit, period. Regardless of whether or not there is a massive data breach. I can tell you from my own experience, I do a lot of narration for cybersecurity. A lot of narration for cybersecurity. And one of the advantages to doing all of this narration for cybersecurity is that I have been able to learn things as a result of doing all of these different e-learning classes. And ever since I started doing some of those courses, and I've been doing some of them, I've been working with one particular company for probably 6 or 7 years now. I'm very particular about stuff like that. So I use a password manager. I'm a big fan of 1Password. I love the fact that I can use it on any of my devices. It works in my browser, all that sort of stuff, but it makes it really easy to change out passwords, to use complex passwords. So yeah, definitely something that I would always be keeping consideration of, because one thing you do not want to do, especially if you're working really hard at using social media, if you've put a lot of time and energy into building your social network, you do not want to lose access to your social network. So definitely, I had not heard about that yet, so I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. But yeah, it might be a good time to do some password changing for sure. So again, if you've got a question that you would like to ask and get answered on Free Advice Friday, if you could just do me one favor, put a Q beside it as you are typing that comment, just a capital Q before you type your comment. And it just helps to make it stand out for me a little bit better in the chat as I'm following along with the conversations that are happening. Let's see. Angela, hi, welcome. Kid Capri, welcome. I enjoyed our one-on-one session yesterday. This is Lewis. Good to talk to you, Lewis, yesterday. Hey, Dennis, welcome. Briscoe VO here. All right, let's see. Mike says, how do you handle marketing cold calls that don't answer the phone? Do you leave a message or just send an email? I think I would probably, so look, first and foremost, I am not a cold caller, so let me just clarify that right out of the gate. Just talking about it, not my jam. That being said, I think there are two things. I think I would be doing one of two things, and I think I would probably experiment with those two things and see if one ultimately produces a better result than the other. So the first thing would be leaving a message. Because if you have the opportunity to leave a message, think about it. What is it? It's basically a live audition, or in this case, I guess a recorded audition. So it's an opportunity for them to hear you speak. It's an opportunity for them to hear your voice and hear how you sound. So I definitely think there's something to be said for that. If they call you back, then you've got a solid prospect out of the deal. So that would be option number one. If I was going to A/B test this, option number one would be to leave a message. Option number two is try and call back, right? Give it a couple days and try to call back again. I mean, there's 1,000 reasons why somebody doesn't answer the phone, and only one of them is because they're blocking your number, right? I mean, I'm a busy guy. I got sessions going on almost all day, every day, and sometimes I can't answer the phone when the calls are coming in, but I will check my voicemail. So I would try those two things. I would make 50 cold calls and do 25 of them where you leave a message and 25 of them where you call back, and then see what the data tells you. All right, let's see. Claudia says, I have 2 LinkedIn profiles. Do you suggest I combine both? I have more connections on my primary one for my full-time job, or just keep them separate and build up the VO profile. Okay, Claudia, so first and foremost, it is actually a violation of LinkedIn's terms of service to have 2 different LinkedIn profiles. And if they find out that you are running two different profiles, it's entirely possible that they will shut one of them down anyway. So that's just something to keep in mind. I think that it is in your best interest to have everything combined in one profile. Now, where that can get tricky, if you have a day job and you are actively using LinkedIn for your day job and you are trying to hide your voiceover business or your side hustle from your day job. Outside of that one circumstance, I would say it is absolutely to your advantage to have your profiles combined. And let me give you an example of why I think that is. If you go to my LinkedIn profile right now, you will see that I'm a voice actor. You will see that I am a voiceover business and marketing coach. You will see that in the past I have been on the radio. I have worked in television, and I have worked as a firefighter. My work history is all there, everything that I've done. In December, just before Christmas, I had the really cool opportunity to do a narration for a museum piece for the FDNY. And one of the reasons why that job came to me was because of my background in history as a firefighter. And so having that information on my LinkedIn profile actually plays into my favor. And so I think that when you've got those profiles combined, I think that it can create voiceover opportunities for you. And that is a subject that I will dive a little bit deeper into in the Making Money with LinkedIn Masterclass. So you might be interested in that. But yes, I would say I think it's to your advantage to have your two profiles together. All right, guys, we got 37 watching on the live stream right now, but only 5 of you have hit the thumbs up. Come on now. Give me some love. Give me some love here, people. Briscoe says, okay, I listened to the new episode on my walk this morning, and I'm pulling the trigger on getting a lead generator. There you go. Do the thing. What keywords or features do you suggest when I begin to look? So when you're working with a lead generator, particularly if you're going to hire somebody off of a platform like Upwork, it's really important that you are very clear with your instructions for what you give them. So I think it's really important that any voice actor has a base understanding of how to do lead generation for themselves before you hire a lead generator, because it's going to help you to teach the lead generator what to do. So I definitely think that you need to be giving them search terms as far as, I want you to go into Google and this is what you're going to search for so that we can find these types of companies. So give them very clear search parameters put together that, tell them, do a search for corporate video production. I think it's also important that you give them some very specific job titles. We are looking for producers or executive producers or creative directors, for example. You don't want a bunch of founders and CEOs, because those are probably not the people that are making the decisions. I think the other thing that I would say, and take this advice from what Bryson said in the show, start small. Ask for 10 or 15 leads. Get those first 10 or 15 leads, figure out what's good, what's bad, how to adjust your instructions, go find 10 or 15 more, and just keep going back and forth like that until you get to a point where everything's good. I think that's really important as well. But well done on the decision to pull the trigger on the lead generator. I think that is something that you are absolutely not going to regret, because it's going to get you some of your time back. And hey, that's one thing that we all could use a little bit more of, is a little bit of extra time. Greg says, last week you mentioned how embedded links in an email often routed the email to the company spam filter. Do email filters see the straight shot demo links in VoiceSam as an embedded link? It's not specifically that all embedded links are bad. It's when you can run, where it can run into problems, and I'm just going off of information that's been given to me by people who are smarter than me, is when you do that thing where it's like, listen to my demo, click here, but I can't see what I'm clicking. That's where you can run into problems. If you're using a service like VoiceSam and it's directly linking to VoiceSam, maybe there's not as much of an issue. I don't know. I can't answer that specifically, but that's what I've been told, is that those hidden links where the URL is not visible, so they're not actually sure what they're clicking on, that's where it can trigger spam filters. Not saying that it does every time, but that's where it can. Mark says, since you're the master of getting things done with everything that needs to be accomplished during the day, i.e. marketing, social updates, auditions, how do you avoid analysis paralysis? You do the thing. You just do the thing, because it is really easy to overthink. I am a big fan of priorities. So a lot of voice actors, and I do this in my coaching, a voice actor will come to me with a list of 25 different things that they think they have to get done. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But they come to me with a list of 25 things that they think that they have to get done, and they treat all 25 of those things as if they're equal. And the fact of the matter is, in almost no circumstances is every single item on your to-do list equal weighted. And one of the things that I have done with people in the past is forced them to rank them numerically. Because when you sit down and you force yourself to rank them numerically, you start to realize what is actually important. And I'm not saying rank them numerically by what is the easiest, or rank them numerically by what you would rather do, or rank them numerically by what you think you can get done. I'm saying rank them numerically by their importance to your business. Are these things bringing me closer to my goals, or are they bringing me further from my goals? And I think when you sit down and you prioritize that way, you suddenly realize that maybe everything that's on your to-do list doesn't need to be on your to-do list, and it certainly isn't all created equal. The planner that I'm using this year, my wife got me, my wife started me on a new planner this year. I've always been a Clever Fox guy. I've used Clever Fox for many, many years, but my wife got me the Full Focus Planner, which is a planner by Michael Hyatt. And Michael is a guy that I have been following on social media for many, many years, following him ever since he started out as a blogger. And his planner, the way it's set up, here's just an example of it. But you can see here, up this way, your daily big three, right? Your daily big three. When you force yourself to look at your to-do list that way, what are the 3 most important things that I need to get done today? That is one of the ways that you start to increase your productivity. That is one of the ways that you start to get more done because you're focusing on the right things. So that's a big one for me. I think the other big thing that I do is I'm a huge fan of time blocking. Putting hour-long blocks or 30-minute blocks, whatever you need, into your calendar, and those become what I call non-negotiable time. I'm going to do that thing, whatever it is. If I say I've got to send 10 connections on LinkedIn, I'm going to block out 30 minutes in my calendar, and the only thing I am allowed to do in those 10 minutes is send those connections. And so time blocking, again, it forces me to prioritize, and it forces me to respect my schedule, respect my time, and respect my task list. All right, guys, I want to tell you about a brand new resource that I've just released, by the way. Testimonials are one of the best marketing tools for a voice actor. It is social proof. It is somebody else saying that you can do the thing that you say that you can do, right? It's one thing for me to say, I'm a really great voice actor, you should hire me. It's another thing when one of my clients says, actually, Mark is a really great voice actor and you should hire him. So if you go to VOpreneur.com/testimonials, VOpreneur.com/testimonials, you can sign up for this free guide. I'm going to give you a dozen different tips that you can take into consideration that are going to help you to up your testimonial game. Okay, this is a free resource. Go to VOpreneur.com/testimonials, VOpreneur.com/testimonials, and you can download that guide. I know that's going to be super helpful for you. All right, what else is going on? This applies to me, but I'm sure others too. If you have a unique voice, accent, etc., how do you market to the masses via production houses, mailings, etc.? Every one of us has a unique voice. Like, honestly, I know that sounds like a really generic, blanket, stupid answer, but it's true. Every single one of us has a unique voice, and I am never going to assume that I know what somebody is or isn't looking for, so I am going to give them the option to decide. And so by reaching out to these companies and letting them listen to your demos, they are ultimately going to make the decision of whether or not your voice fits what they're looking for, or whether or not it's a voice that they think they might be able to use down the road or whatever. So at the end of the day, I say you just market and just leave it up to them to decide. Because if you sit back and you try to be really strategic about who you're reaching out to, or you look, try to find the exact right companies or whatever, you're never going to get anywhere. That's analysis paralysis right there. So I say you send it out and you let your demos do the talking. At Silvis in December, one casting person emphatically recommended to attach your demos instead of links or directing to the website. She emphasized no one wants extra work to listen to your demos. I know Cliff Zellman and I have this debate, and Cliff Zellman and I have had this debate on the podcast. Cliff Zellman and I have had this debate right here on Free Advice Friday. I've had him on the show before. And Cliff is a huge fan of sending demos directly. He wants the demo in the email, and I totally get that. But the flip side of that is that unsolicited attachments have a higher probability of triggering spam filters. And so for me, I would rather give them a link to my website. Now, do they have to click? Yes. Do they have to look for my demos? No. When you click the link that I send and it sends you to my website at markscottvoiceover.com, when my website loads, the demos are right there. This is it. These are the demos. You do not have to go looking for the demos when you're on my website. So that would be the thing that I would say. If you are going to send people to your website to listen to your demos, send them to your demos. If I go to your website and then from your website, I need to click onto another page to get to your demos, I'm losing interest. If I go to your website and your demos are not at the top of the screen and I've got to go scrolling to find your demos, I'm losing interest. So if you're going to go this route, you still need to make it as easy as humanly possible. Send them to a place exactly where your demos are. Now, I like to use demo attachments as a follow-up strategy. Hey, Mark, loved your demos. We'll definitely keep you in mind. We'll add you to the roster, whatever. If I get a positive response, that is when I am going to reach back to them and I'm going to say, would you like to have a copy of my demos to keep on file? So I can keep the conversation going. And also with the voice sampler, you'll notice everything is downloadable. One-click downloadable as well. So they get the best of both worlds. I don't have to send unsolicited attachments. I don't have to risk potentially triggering spam filters. They get to hear my demos, and if they want to download, they can download as well. So that's something else to consider. I'm not going to say that either approach is wrong or right. I'm just going to tell you from my own experience and what I have learned talking to professionals in the email and IT space and whatnot. This is what I've gathered, and so this is why I do it the way that I do it. Mike says, I'm excited to see you've updated your Making Money with LinkedIn class and it's coming soon. Can you share any of the topics in the updated content? It's just some of the stuff, some of the changes that I'm going to be working on that they've made for 2024. There's some changes that have been made to the algorithm that I want to update, some changes in strategy for content and what LinkedIn is prioritizing from a content standpoint. There were some tips and tricks that I've taught previously that worked as a really good way to amplify content, and those may not work as well now because of changes that have been made to the algorithm. And so some of those things are some of the things that are going to be updated. So, if you bought the class last year and took the class last year, it's not going to be a huge overhaul. There is going to be updated information in it, though, so it would be worth revisiting. But again, for those of you that have never taken the class, this is your opportunity to deep dive into LinkedIn and really, truly learn how to get into the platform and to use the platform. All right, let's see. Where are we at? We're still only at like a 50% thumbs up rate, guys. You hurt my feelings here. You're making me sad. Somebody give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, too. All right, let's see. Walter says, hey, Mark, when following up, do you have a cutoff amount of days for replying to the same thread chain and starting a new email if there was no initial response? Yeah, so I'm going to send my introductory marketing email. If I don't get a response, I'm going to send a follow-up 1 week later. If I don't get a response, I'm going to send another follow-up another week later. If I don't get a response to any of those 3 emails, that's where I'm probably going to stop. That does not mean that I'm going to throw away the lead, though. I'm going to save them for later. Maybe try again next quarter or something like that and see if I can spark something. And when I do that, by the way, that's when I am starting over again. What's your opinion on using texting for marketing? You know what? I can't do it. I'm not going to say that it's wrong. I know that it's all the rage. I know that Gen Zers are living on their phones and that it's probably going to be something that might be worth adopting in the future. I do have some clients that prefer to do text for communication, which is fine. But when I'm sending marketing material to them, I still do that via email. I think it's a personal choice thing, but for me, it just, I don't know. I want to spend less time on my phone, not more, which I know is because I'm an old fart. So, take my answer with a grain of salt, right? If I was 20, I would probably feel differently. But at this point in my life, I'm like, I already spend too much time on my phone as it is. I would like to spend less time on my phone, not more. So I stick to some of the other different platforms, but it's something that might be worth experimenting, particularly if you're reaching out to companies with younger people who are making the decisions, because it might be the way that they prefer to communicate. How often do the algorithms change? Some of them have probably changed twice in the time that it has taken me to read and answer this question. They're living, breathing things, right? And so there are constantly changes that are being made because they are continuously learning. You're on YouTube right now. Right now, if you go to your YouTube home screen, all the videos that are displaying on your YouTube home screen, the algorithm has decided are videos that may be of interest to you based on your previous search history on YouTube. Now, if this afternoon you spend an hour watching woodworking videos, when you come back to YouTube later on tonight, all of a sudden your home screen is going to look very differently, and it's going to be filled with recommendations for woodworking videos because it's learning about you as you go. If you go into Instagram and you do a search for barbecue or smoked meats, all of a sudden, the next time that you come back to Instagram and click over to your search tab, all of those pictures and reels that are showing up are going to be filled with barbecue and smoked meats because the algorithm is constantly learning about you. So there's that side of things, but then there's also the tweaks that the platforms make to the algorithms to try to get them to work better, work more efficiently, do the things that they want to do. Google makes changes all the time with SEO because once people have figured out how to master whatever the current version of the SEO rules and parameters and algorithms are, they figure out how to gamify it. So then Google's got to come in and change everything all over again to kind of level out the playing field again. And so it's one of those things where it's constantly happening. So what I want to look at in my LinkedIn class are just some of the bigger changes that might have a little bit more of an impact on how you're using the platform or how you will use the platform if you're going to start using it. Hit the like button, people. The man is giving you free gold. That's right, people. Hit the like button. I am trying to get used to, so some of you may have seen the video that I posted in the VOpreneur group on Facebook. I've made some changes to my workstation this week. So I'm now working off of a Mac Studio. My 5-year-old iMac, it was finally done. So I picked up a Mac Studio, but I also picked up a 49-inch ultra-wide LG monitor, which, by the way, if you have the means to do it, it will change your life. Like, I cannot believe how much quicker I'm getting certain things done just because I don't have to constantly be switching between windows, constantly switching between applications. I've had as many as 8 different things opened on this monitor at one time, which has allowed me to be so much more efficient. When I was working on my 2023 expense report and finishing off my 2023 expense report earlier this week, I got my bank statements open in one part. I've got my accounting software open in another part. I've got receipts that I've got screenshots of open in another part, and everything's just there, and it's on one wide screen, and it's absolutely incredible. Where it's causing me a little bit of confusion with Free Advice Friday today, because this is the first live stream I've done since I did it. I probably look like I'm looking all over the place. Well, it's because my monitor is this wide, and I've got stuff over here, and I've got stuff over there, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm looking forward, but bear with me. But yeah, I highly recommend the ultra wide monitor. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think I've hit that point. My oldest would probably agree with me that I've hit that point. So yeah, it changes the way that you think about things. It changes your perspective to a certain degree. That's right. All right, let's see. To follow up on the question on following up, when you do follow up on the next quarter, what would you say? So if I did not get any kind of response the first few times that I reached out, when I try again in the next quarter, I'm starting that conversation over from scratch. I am not picking up where we left off. They're not going to remember me. So I'm always going to start that conversation over from scratch. Since we're talking about marketing, I want to tell you about another brand new resource that I have just made available this week. I went through my database, 6,000 plus in my CRM and 4,000 plus in my LinkedIn. And I distilled that down to what are the 40 most common job titles that I am working with for voiceover. And I have turned that now into a handy guide that is available at VOpreneur.com. So if you head to VOpreneur.com and click on the store button, here it is right here. 40 job titles. If you have ever asked the question, who do I market to? Who should I be reaching out to? Who should I be sending connection requests to on LinkedIn? This resource is going to answer that question for you. So this is a brand new resource that I just made available this week. 40 of the most common job titles that I am working with. I just threw the link in the chat. If you want to check it out, that'll take you to it directly. But if you go to VOpreneur.com, and when you land on the page at VOpreneur.com, click on store. There it is right there. 40 job titles. Super handy guide that's going to make your marketing life so much easier. Francis says, one particular online casting site, clients posting auditions often give the company name. If you audition and don't get the job, is there any etiquette around emailing them later? Okay, good question. Most casting sites have it written into their terms of service that it is actually not cool, and it is a violation of the terms of service for you to market to those companies directly. That said, do voice actors do it? Absolutely they do. There's a lot of voice actors that use online casting as a data mining tool. What I would not do ever is reach out to a company directly regarding a casting that they posted on a casting site. So I would never see that, company X posted a job on voices123.com Bodalgo and reach out to company X and say, hey, I saw the job that you posted on voices123.com Bodalgo, and I wanted to reach out to you about it directly. I would never do that. Would I reach out to them just generally as a voice actor? I would probably be more open to that, but I would never try to pursue a particular job off a platform because that would definitely be a direct violation of the terms of use. Bobby Kyle, is it acceptable to use IMDb to find pre-production projects such as video games and reach out to the production team with a demo or offering services and email? I say, why not? The information is out there. It's on the internet. The internet is open and free. I think that's actually a really smart strategy. Absolutely. I think that is a smart strategy. All right, guys, what else do you want to talk about? Make sure you check out the brand new episode of the podcast. Bryson Carr was on the show today. Actually, yesterday. Sorry. In 2020, Bryson Carr was a part-time voice actor with a full-time day job. And he wanted to grow his voiceover business, but he knew he didn't have time for it. So he hired a lead generator. And that lead generator gave Bryson the jumpstart that he needed to ultimately turn his part-time voiceover business into a full-time voiceover business. His virtual assistant still working with him to this day. Bryson now actually next week is going to be a voice on the Grammys. So he's built an incredibly successful business for himself in just a few short years, but he's done it by working with a virtual assistant. And so in the new episode of the podcast, I talked to him about his story and what that experience is like. And he gives a lot of great tips for working with a virtual assistant. So check that out. That is available, of course, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. Look up the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. It's available at VOpreneur.com. And it is available right here on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch that interview, you can check that one out as well. So look for it on the YouTube channel. In fact, let me just go ahead and find it for you right now and put the link in the chat. Maybe that would be easy. Wouldn't that be easy? Hang on. Here we go. There it is. Putting the link in the chat as we speak. If you want to go back and check it out, really great interview. We also talk about jumping out of airplanes, which I think is, oops, wrong button. I think jumping out of airplanes is crazy, but hey, to each their own. But there you go. Check that one out. Really great interview. Angela says, I listened to that and it was really good. I got another great interview coming up next week as well. I'm talking with Jennifer Clark, who also, coincidentally, this was not planned, but coincidentally, Jennifer started her voiceover business in 2020 and now is an incredibly successful full-time voice actor. But she talks about going from being the stay-at-home mom with 3 kids in the house to ultimately finding the time and the balance and the capacity to to grow a voiceover business, investing in the right places, and building a very successful voiceover business for herself. And so we talk about that, and we also talk about the happy jar, which I can't wait to share that story of the happy jar. So keep an eye out for that one. That episode is coming out next week. All right. What else you guys want to talk about? If I've missed your question, I apologize, and don't be afraid to type it back into the chat again. I'm trying to keep up with all the questions as much as possible, but there is definitely a lot going on here. Feel free, again, type your question in the chat. Anything you want to talk about from a business and marketing standpoint, again, type a Q before you type your question. That way it does stand out a little bit easier on my screen. It makes it a little bit easier for me to find it. But I am here and happy to talk about whatever you want to talk about for another 25 minutes or so. There will not be Free Advice Friday next week. I can tell you right now, there will not be Free Advice Friday next week. My wife turns 40. My oldest turns 16. My youngest turns 3. And it's all next weekend. All of their birthdays. 3 birthdays in the span of 4 days. 40, 16, 3. So next weekend is going to be a crazy weekend. So no Free Advice Friday next week, just so you know. Heads up. So that just means it's even more important that you ask the questions that you want to ask right now. So don't be shy. Type it in the comments and let's go. I haven't listened to the podcast with Bryson yet. Does it dive into how to vet a virtual assistant? Yeah, he talks a little bit about that strategy. I asked him about some of the things that he took into consideration and definitely gave some great answers as well. To a degree, there's a little bit of trial and error that goes on there. I think it's important to remember that you're entering a business relationship, not a marriage relationship, which means, it's okay if it doesn't work out. It's okay to move on and say, sorry, this is not the one. Like, we're not asking for lifetime commitments here. And I think that sometimes we don't want to do that. We don't want to have to fire somebody or whatever, but hey, that's just part of life and business. But I do think that sometimes when we are hiring virtual assistants and we don't get from them what we want, we are really quick to blame the virtual assistant, but sometimes it's on us, right? They can only do as good of a job as how you train them. So it's up to us to set them up for success through the training that we give them starting out. And that's something that Bryson and I talk about a little bit in that interview as well. All right, what else do you guys want to talk about? What can I answer for you? What questions do you have? Anything business and marketing related, it's all on the table. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can, so don't be shy. This is, for all intents and purposes, a free coaching session here that we're doing right now. So ask away. What would you like to know for Free Advice Friday? What other things can we talk about from the business and marketing side of the business? So how much trouble are you going to get in for telling the whole world your wife is turning 40? Yeah, she has been very adamant about the fact that there will be no acknowledgement or recognition of the birthday whatsoever. I told her fat chance. So there you go. I'm one of those guys. Birthdays never used to really matter. I was like, what? Who cares, right? And I mean, my parents did birthdays. We had some birthday stuff when I was a kid. Mostly I'd, have a friend over for a sleepover or whatever, but it was never a really huge, big deal. But now that I'm a dad, particularly once I got married, I've tried to make birthdays a big deal. I've tried to make birthdays a little bit special. And I mean, come on, 40 and 16 in the same weekend. Actually, probably what I'm going to run into is I'm going to get in crap on both sides because, of course, the 16-year-old is going to want, her sweet 16 that's all about her. And the 40-year-old, well, she doesn't even want to have anything, period, whatsoever. And you know what? It's probably a losing proposition no matter what I do next weekend, but we'll definitely find some fun ways to celebrate and acknowledge those big accomplishments. And my 16-year-old is already talking about getting her license and driving. And I've already see what's going on here. The more that she talks about getting a car, can you see what's happening there? See that? It's starting to expand back. Just saying. Those of you that have been there, Are you presenting at VO Atlanta? I am presenting this year. I'm going to be doing an X session, which is already sold out. Thank you to everybody who signed up for that, and I can't wait to get into that X session with you guys. I will also be sitting on the marketing panel, so very much looking forward to having a conversation and answering some marketing questions at VO Atlanta. Looking forward to being a sponsor. VOpreneur is going to be a sponsor at VO Atlanta. I'm such a big fan of that conference, and very happy to be a part of it in any way that I can. And looking forward to seeing you guys as well. So if you see me wandering around, please come and say hi and introduce yourself. And some of you I will recognize, some of you I may not. Sometimes it's hard because, you see these little social media profile pictures and that's all you get. And then you see somebody in person, and I will do my best. But yeah, please don't be shy and come and say hi if you see me wandering around in Atlanta as well. What if you're not sure what you need from a potential assistant? Is there a list? I think there's a couple of different ways that you can look at this. It's a really great question, Angela. So the first thing I would be looking at, are there tasks that I know that I need to do, but I am continuously procrastinating on because I don't want to do them? So essential tasks to your business, like lead generation, for example. A lot of voice actors procrastinate on lead generation because they don't enjoy doing it. If that is something that you are continually procrastinating on, but you know that it is something that is essential to your business, then that might be a prime candidate for something that you could outsource. Get somebody else to do it so that it's actually getting done. Another way to look at it is, what do I do really well that I don't specifically have to do? Because if there's something in your business that you do really well, but you don't specifically have to do it, it's something that's probably going to be easy for you to teach someone else how to do. And so then you can pass that off to them, which frees up more of your time to focus on the things that only you can do. I would say some of the most common things that people are sending out to a virtual assistant are lead generation, email marketing, CRM management, social media management, content creation and content strategy, and I think audio editing. There's a lot of people that will use that as that can be very time consuming, particularly if you're doing longer form stuff. And so that might be something to outsource as well. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can come at a virtual assistant. I think it's also important to understand that when we're talking about virtual assistant, this could be somebody that works for you for an hour a week, or 5 hours a week, or 10 hours a week. You could start out at an hour a week, and slowly over time, as you start to get more comfortable and you guys get a better working relationship, maybe you graduate up to 5 hours a week. So this is not necessarily a 40-hour-a-week thing. You're not bringing on a full-time employee and you're responsible for their insurance and their healthcare and all that sort of stuff. It could literally just be an hour a week, and it could even be project to project. I have hired virtual assistants in the past for specific projects. This is what I need you to do, and go and do the thing. And so that is absolutely an option as well. Speaking of LinkedIn, if VO is a new venture, do you keep your day job details, create a separate account? Okay, Nick, I touched on this earlier in the show, but I think that you keep everything on one profile, because I think that you never know how your day job or your previous work experience or your education or whatever could potentially play into your voiceover business. I think there are people who are concerned that, will people take me seriously as a voice actor if they see that I do another thing? I don't know that there's a lot of weight behind that argument anymore, because I think everybody's got a side hustle today. And so I honestly don't think that it's something that a lot of people are even going to pay attention to at all. So yes, I think that it is to your advantage to keep everything together in one place. Why don't you do vocation? It seems like it's tailor-made for you. That's what I've been saying for years. I would love to be able to do vocation. The opportunity's just never been presented, but I would be happy to do vocation, because I feel like if I was going to invent a conference, I would have invented vocation. And I love what they are doing with that conference. I think it's a really cool angle that they're taking to make it stand out in a different way from all of the other voiceover conferences that are happening. All right, let's see. Oh my gosh, there's actually probably an element of truth to that. Buying a Mac Studio and a 49-inch widescreen in the same week. That was a I made Visa very happy that week. But also, I've been saving for it for like almost a year. So that was the difference. It's taken me a long time to get there. So yes, Visa was happy for about 5 minutes, just long enough for me to get my air miles. And then I paid it off. But yeah, not a small investment by any stretch of the imagination, but absolutely worth it because of how much quicker. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how much faster the Mac Studio is. It's crazy. All right, let's see. Specifically, what questions to ask regarding what kind of leads that you need. So if you go to a lead generator and say, I need voiceover leads, and they come back to you with a list of voice actors, whose fault is that? Is it the lead generator's fault or is it your fault? It's actually your fault because they gave you exactly what you asked for, voiceover leads. So you need to be very specific about what kind of leads that you are looking for. So I gave an example of this earlier in the broadcast. Let's say that you're focusing on corporate narration. You got a great new corporate demo from Anganguza. You can't wait to tell the world about it. So you're going to do a search for corporate video production, and you're going to find all of the companies that are doing corporate video production. And maybe you're going to start in your city, or maybe you're going to start in your state. Maybe you're going to start in your region, and you're just going to work your way through it. And so look at the demos that you have, because the demos that you have available to market are going to determine the places, the companies, et cetera, that you are marketing to. And then I think, you complement that with finding the right job titles as well. Dun, dun, dun. Briscoe says, I definitely pay an editor when I do audiobooks. It is so worth the money to be able to invest that time trying to find new work. 100%. 100%. It makes sense, right? Do the things that only you can do, and anything else is a potential candidate for being outsourced. Let's see, where else are we going here? Thank you guys for all the questions, by the way. If I have missed your question, I apologize. Again, if you've got a question that you would like to ask, if you put a Q beside it, it makes it a little bit easier as I'm scrolling through the chat. There's a lot of stuff going on in the chat right now, and so I'm trying not to miss anything. If I have, I definitely apologize, but don't be afraid to ask the question again if I missed it, because I'm happy to come back to it. I think that the first thing I'd like to outsource is SEO. I'm not the greatest at SEO, and I don't really enjoy it. It makes sense to outsource it, I think, 100%. Look, anything that you want to be able to do for your voiceover business, in theory, you can go online and you can probably learn. So you could spend the next month of your life every night for 3 hours a night watching videos on YouTube to teach yourself how to do SEO. And as you're doing that, you're thinking, I'm learning how to do SEO so I can do it for free. But is it really free if you're spending 20 hours a week learning how to do it? And that's just learning how to do it. That's not the time that you're going to have to invest to actually do it. That's just the time you invest learning how to do it. So would I rather spend 20 hours a week, every evening, a couple hours a night, watching YouTube videos, learning how to do SEO, or flip somebody $20 an hour or $25 an hour and say, go do your SEO magic on my website? I would rather do that all day, every day. The studio is on my wish list. By the time I can actually justify the $7K for the configuration I'm looking at, it'll be at least an M3, if not the M4 chip. Yeah, that's mine is an M2. I actually bought a refurb. I bought an Apple refurb, but I was able to get a really nicely upgraded refurb for $400 less than what I would have paid for a new one. So I've got the M2 Max, and dang, it's fast. And I mean, for what I need to do for the podcast, for video editing, for voiceover, for all of that sort of stuff, it's been totally worth it. And it's only been a couple of days, and I can already say it's been totally worth it. Do you factor the cost of an editor for audiobooks when charging per finished hour? Yeah, I think you can add. You may not be able to factor that in fully, but I think that if you're planning to hire an editor to do that, I think you could certainly take that into consideration and maybe bump your per finished hour rate up a little bit, or try anyway to bump your per finished hour rate up a little bit. Just remember that every hour that you spend, and this is the point that Terry just made, every hour that you spend editing that audiobook is another hour that you are not spending looking for the next audiobook. So if it takes you, 10 hours, let's just say for the fun of it, it takes you 10 hours to edit your audiobook. That's 10 hours that you could have had finding the next book. Can you find one audiobook job? If you're a regular audiobook narrator, can you find an audiobook job in 10 hours? Probably you can. If you were paying $25 an hour for an editor, that's $250. So if it costs you $250 for an editor, but that $250 bought you 10 hours of your own time back to go out and find another audiobook or two, will the audiobook or two that you find in that 10 hours equate to more than $250? And if they do, then it's profitable. And so then it makes sense. It's an investment that is producing a return. What is the most basic, essential marketing action that all of us should be doing regularly? The most basic and essential. Two things. One, your website needs to be great. And I mean it. Your website needs to be great. There are a lot of ways for us to build free websites today. There are a lot of services out there that allow us to build free websites today. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I did it for years. But your website needs to be great. It's one of the areas where you're competing with every other voice actor. And it's one of the areas where people are making judgment calls. If I go to your website and it looks like it was built on GeoCities in 1999, I am immediately going to question your legitimacy as a voice actor. Right or wrong, doesn't matter. It's going to happen. So your website needs to be awesome. I think the second thing is that you need to find ways to fill your pipeline every single day. That can look like a lot of different things. Filling your pipeline could be sending emails, making cold calls, attending networking events and shaking hands and collecting business cards, making connections on social media, posting content on social media. There's a lot of different ways that can look, but every single day, you need to be doing something to fill your pipeline. That is one of the most essential marketing things as well. Let's see. What else? Russell says, LinkedIn. Keeping everything under one professional profile history is one thing, but do you have any feeling regarding creating a LinkedIn business page? Is it useful as a distraction? Okay, you have to have a LinkedIn company page if you are planning to do LinkedIn advertising. I have done LinkedIn advertising in the past, and I have done LinkedIn advertising in the past with success. So I would say if you are thinking about doing LinkedIn ads, then yes, it is worth it to have a company page. The other advantage to having a company page, let's say that you do have a day job, full-time day job. Voiceover is your part-time gig right now. You're doing it on the side. Maybe you're working to build voiceover to full-time, but for now you've got the day job. And maybe you have to be cautious about how much voiceover content you share on your LinkedIn profile because of the fact that you have a day job. Or maybe you use LinkedIn for your day job. Then in that case, there could be an argument to be made for having a LinkedIn company page. I have one. I don't use it a ton. That's because I have over 4,000 followers on my main LinkedIn, and I've got like a couple hundred on my LinkedIn company page. And so it feels like a wasted effort in that regard. I still post stuff periodically just to keep it fresh. I absolutely keep it updated when I'm running advertisements, because if you're running advertisements on LinkedIn, they are running from your company page, not your profile. So if somebody's clicking through, they're going to click through to your company page. So if you're running a LinkedIn ad, a targeted LinkedIn ad, and people are clicking through to your company page and your company page hasn't been updated in 5 years, that would send a signal to them as well. So those would be the instances I would say where you want to take that LinkedIn company page into consideration. All right, guys, let me just bring this up again and remind you that I am teaching an updated version of Making Money with LinkedIn. This is going to be a 2-hour masterclass. There's 2 different options that are available. Option number 1 is going to be February 13th, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So you will be able to come and join me live on Zoom. I'll be teaching for about 2 hours. There will be a Q&A opportunity at the end of it. And then when the class is complete, you will get access to a video recording. So if you can't attend live, or you can't be there for the whole entire time, or you just want to be able to revisit it, you will get access to a video version afterwards. So option number 1 is February 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Option number 2 is February 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Same deal. Join me live. I will teach the class. We'll do a Q&A. You'll get access to the video recording when that is completed. This is a 2-hour deep dive into everything that I am doing to use LinkedIn to make money for my voiceover business. If you go to VOpreneur.com, it's on the homepage. You can see it right there on the homepage, Making Money with LinkedIn. You can register February 13th, 1 o'clock, February 15th at 7 p.m. You can also click on the store button, and you can see it's there as well. If you are interested in using LinkedIn, but you do not feel confident in LinkedIn, you do not feel proficient in LinkedIn, or you just want to get better at LinkedIn, I'd strongly encourage you to check this out. So again, February 13th, 1 p.m. Eastern, February 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern. Join me live, but also get access to the complete video recording as well. If you have previously purchased this class, you will get access to the update. So keep that in mind as well. All right, I got time for one more question. Trisha says, what and how much information to include in a newbie bio? On established VO websites, LinkedIn, P2P sites, social media, I see some minimal, strictly professional versus, the end of the question got cut off, versus a lot of personal information. So first and foremost, do not ever talk about the fact that you are a newbie. There's no reason to. In all of the years that I have been doing this, I have never had somebody ask me, how many years have you been a voice actor? It's just not a question that gets asked. Nobody really cares. If your voice matches the voice that they're hearing in their head for this project, they'll hire you. Doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 6 months, for 6 years, for 60 years. So don't ever talk about the fact that you are a newbie. Talk about things that are relevant. If you've done a lot of training, if you've done theater, if you've done drama, if you've done singing, if you've done acting, whatever, you can talk about that sort of stuff. I also think it's okay to talk a little bit about you. Some of the connections that I have made with my clients have been as a result of the personal connections, talking about the Red Sox, talking about baseball in general, talking about barbecue, talking about Dr. Pepper, talking about how everything I have is orange. So don't be afraid to make that personal connection as well. And so I think it's okay to include some of that. The other thing I would say is this many people that visit your website are probably actually even going to bother to read your bio in the first place. So I think it becomes an opportunity for you to put some text. I think it becomes an opportunity for you to include some keywords. So it's an opportunity to kind of build it out from an SEO standpoint, but also making it interesting enough and relevant enough that if somebody is checking it out, it gives them a nice, clear sense of who you are and what you do. But definitely do not talk about, there's no need to talk about the fact that you're new. So keep that in mind. All right, there's 42 of you left on the live stream, but there's still only 34 likes. Come on, guys. Come on. Hurt my feelings. I'll give you an hour. Give me a like. Thank you so much for joining me, as always, for Free Advice Friday, of course. Make sure you check out the new episode of the podcast with Bryson. It was a really great interview. Go back and listen to last week's interview with Tim and Carr from Nava. By the way, if you haven't done that one yet, so much good information shared in that one about AI and where things stand right now with the state of AI and how that is potentially impacting the voiceover business and some of the things that are in the pipeline as far as legislation and whatnot. Check that episode out. Again, the podcast is always available at VOpreneur.com. Wherever fine podcasts are given away for free, it's on all the platforms: Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Amazon, Stitcher, you name it, it's out there. And of course, the video version right here on the YouTube channel as well. Give me a subscribe so that you'll always get notified whenever I go live. Give me a like so you can make me feel better about myself. And as a reminder, no Free Advice Friday next week, but hopefully we'll return the week after. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with me or whatever it is that you're doing on a Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I always enjoy hanging out with you guys and answering as many of your questions as possible. Oh, here it is. Aren't you a Blue Jays fan? Helpful info as always. 2 thumbs up. I am actually a Red Sox fan. But yes, I will go see Blue Jays games because they're close. Although generally if I'm going to the Dome to see a Blue Jays game, it's because the Red Sox are in town and I'm cheering for the Red Sox anyway. So, although the Red Sox haven't really given me anything to cheer about for a couple years, and I don't think that's going to get any better this year either. So, thanks for bringing up that, and now I'm sad. All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out as always. I appreciate it. Whatever you decide to do this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and as always, go find some leads.